Hey everybody, welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to go over the reasons why I think that Assassin's Creed 3 was unfinished on release. This video isn't intended to hate, it's just simply to point out evidence that suggests that the game might have possibly been released a little bit too early, and as a result what we got was not as good as what we could have got. Again, not to hate, I'm just saying that I do believe that Assassin's Creed 3 was somewhat unfinished when we got to play it. So going 5 years ago now, Assassin's Creed 3 was released and met with fairly mixed reviews. I reckon this was partially down to the incomplete feel of the game that I personally get when playing it. I'm sure if I got it then others got it as well, that the game didn't necessarily feel as complete as it could have been. Now of course the first place to look for evidence that it didn't seem complete would be the HUD that you see on the screen in this gameplay. The HUD in Assassin's Creed 3 looks rather unpolished, as all shades of blue doesn't exactly look very nice, at least in my opinion, and it gave it sort of like an early build sort of feel, like it was a HUD just there so that the game was playable, which suggests that they might have just thrown a HUD together just so that the game was playable without having to flip through the map and stuff all the time. Also, the open world was quite nice looking with the frontier and everything, except there was literally nothing to do that was really worth doing. There was the odd side quest that you'd get, where you'd get this really lacking in-depth frontiersman quest where you have to hunt a monster or something that turns out to be something that's a bit of bollocks. That's a good time. But there are also these missions that you'll do without any form of cutscene or any form of character intervention, so it doesn't feel like the character's actually present in the event, and it just feels like it's just there. And then there's the hunting, but there's not very much to do outside of the missions, besides from the homestead missions and a few other things. And areas like the frontier were rather empty when it came to these side activities, as the majority of them were in cities or on the homestead. As a result, the feeling that I got when exploring the frontier was one of loneliness, and there's just emptiness in general. Beyond that, aesthetically, certain parts of the game, especially the cities, just felt a little bit unpolished, and they weren't necessarily very pleasing to look at. Also, dense grass, if you look directly down, would be like crosses and it would look really weird, and that also added to this not very aesthetically pleasing thing. Now, understanding the limitations of previous generation, I reckon that's probably more to do with that. However, I reckon they could have probably handled the grass a little bit better than having these crosses on the ground if you look directly down. Another thing that felt a little bit off to me, and I know it was in Assassin's Creed Unity, I'm not sure about Syndicate, I think Syndicate did have ambience music, but Assassin's Creed 3 and Unity didn't have ambience music. Now, what's notable is that both of these games weren't complete on release fully, but the thing is, ambience music is what makes a game atmospheric, and if you don't have any ambience music when you're just walking around a town, it's going to feel quite quiet and empty, and honestly, I'm not really a big fan of that. In my opinion, it just added to the void of emptiness that was just present in the game already. Now, this next feature I really hate so much that I'm not even going to show footage, and that is the lockpicking. In effect, this gameplay feature was very temperamental and would sometimes just not behave, and you'd be there fiddling like a retard for about 30 minutes. Slight exaggeration there, you'd probably give up before 30 minutes. The point is, the feature was unpolished and barely worked. And if you successfully manage to pick that lock, you've probably pulled a few muscles in both of your hands. Because while Connor is there fiddling with a lock like an idiot, you're playing Twister with your controller. Now, if the developers had time to evaluate that, I guarantee that mechanism would not be the worst lockpicking mechanism I've ever seen in gaming ever, because honestly, in my opinion, Assassin's Creed 3's lockpicking mechanism is the worst I've ever seen. The point here is, had the developers had time to work on it and improve it and make it more doable and less of a chore and less painful, I reckon they would have done it. However, the fact that they didn't suggests that Assassin's Creed 3 was perhaps pushed out a little bit too early. And honestly, Assassin's Creed 3 as a whole felt like a bit of a test as opposed to a full finished game. It felt incomplete, at least in my opinion. However, if you disagree, that is fine. Also, if you found there was nothing wrong with Assassin's Creed 3, that's also fine. However, I personally saw signs of the game not being completely polished at all through and through. The biggest giveaways for me would probably be the fairly empty open world, the terrible lockpicking system, and the hideous HUD. But anyway guys, thanks for letting me waste 5 minutes of your life. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see you all very soon with another video. So yeah, so yeah.